Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back. Today, I wanted to start by talking to you about the lead suspect in the unaliving of the UnitedHealthCare CEO, Brian Thompson. The lead suspect is this man called Luigi Mangione. Everybody has been freaking out about how hot this man is, and they, for once, are not over-exaggerating and fawning over a mediocre white man like Joe from You. No offense, okay? Whatever. This man actually is hot. Like, he's objectively hot. He's like a mix between Timothée Chalamet and Dylan O'Brien, but like with slightly curly, fluffy hair. No bad angles. This is the thing. I've seen now so many pictures of this man from his first smirk in the hood with the very like Luke from Gilmore Girls fit. The green jacket with the pockets, very Luke from Gilmore Girls core, okay? And apparently he like rizzed up the barista or something. I don't know. Anyways, this also ties into his alleged manifesto, his last words, allegedly, that I'm going to read you later, where he mentions, it doesn't matter if you live, die, or drink a cup of coffee. Because this man was written, he's straight out of a book, and he's written by a woman. Donna Tartt is that woman, okay? And the book is A Secret History. He literally is Henry from A Secret History. And once I saw his alleged manifesto, it all came together in the way that this whole thing has been so not of this world. In the way he executed it was so apparently so astute in gunmanship that the police who were talking about it sounded like they wanted to take him out for dinner. Like they were like, oh my gosh, this man, he's so adept. You can tell he really knows his guns. He really knows how to shoot. And when it locked, I don't know gun terms, okay? I don't know any gun lingo, so I know I sound uneducated, and I should be when I'm talking about how he was talking about how this man held the gun. But he was so impressed. He was kind of like, like he must be a professional. Like, and all of the police were so impressed by him in a way that's like, what is going on? Like how, and then he got away on a city bike, very clean, very smooth, no issues. Apparently I saw a TikTok. Now here's the thing. When you're on TikTok, you don't know if people are making stories up for views. But I saw a guy on TikTok say that he may or may not have gotten fired for maybe or maybe not erasing CTV footage that could possibly locate somebody who may have been involved in the unaliving of Brian Thompson. And people in the comments were like, not all heroes wear capes. Well, it's Tuesday. Holmes has been arrested. So what we thought was going to be a long run for him being on the run ended up being quite short, and he was arrested at a McDonald's. And I saw another video on TikTok showing there was like a kind of elderly guy on the news, I think, about this, and him and his friends always go to this McDonald's, and I guess his friend, when Luigi walked in, was like, oh, that looks like the shooter, and the person at the cashier overheard and then looked at the guy and was like, wait, it actually does. And then she called the police. So that's how he has been detained, whatever. And today, these Luigi Mangione's last words, I'm putting quotations if you're listening on podcast. If you're not listening on podcast, or if you are listening on podcast and you want to hop over to YouTube, my YouTube is Kiribria, you should subscribe. It's called The Allopathic Complex and Its Consequences. This is a Substack that went live by an account called LM on December 9th, 2024, which is yesterday, Monday. Assuming I get this video up today, which I intend to, and may my intentions come true. I'm going to read some of it. And again, this is allegedly him. Like, yeah, it's on the thing, it says Luigi Mangione's last words, like in a way that looks like it's part of the Substack. I digress. So it says, the Second Amendment means I am my own chief executive and commander-in-chief of my own military. I authorize my own act of self-defense in response to a hostile entity making war on me and my family. If you hear a tapping, it's the apartment on top of me. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about it. Think of it as a metronome. Nelson Mandela says no form of violence can be excused. Camus says it's all the same whether you live or die or have a cup of coffee. That is the part that I found so poetic and so, oh my gosh, are you Henry out of A Secret History? Saying, I think of death as a redistribution of matter, which I think about a lot. Because if you haven't read A Secret History, Henry is like the author of his own demise and his own villainhood. Like, he is the villain to himself and to others, but ultimately, like, what he surmises to be his, like, self-righteousness and self-righteous self-expression and, like, sort of comeuppance and what needs to happen is simultaneously his own undoing, but he's made peace with that, and he's okay with that, and he's very philosophical about it. Now, again, this Substack is alleged. However, from what we know about this man and what we can tell, I also saw like a TikTok that he is very educated, like very well educated. And his friends have said like they weren't expecting him to crash out like this. But anyways, MLK says violence never brings permanent peace. Gandhi says that nonviolence is the mightiest power available to mankind. That's who they tell you are heroes. That's who our revolutionaries are. Yet, is that not capitalistic? Nonviolence keeps the system working at full speed ahead. What did it get us? Look in the mirror. They want us to be nonviolent so that they can grow fat off the blood they take from us. That's a nice phrase. The only way out is through. Not all of us will make it. Each of us is our own chief executive. You have to decide what you will tolerate. In Gladiator 1, Maximus cuts into the military tattoo that identifies him as part of the Roman legion. His friend asks, "Is that the sign of your god?" As Maximus carves deeper into his own flesh, as his own blood drips down his skin, Maximus smiles and nods, yes. The tattoo, this is so Henry from The Secret History to me. The tattoo represents the emperor who is God. The god emperor has made himself part of Maximus's own flesh. The only way to destroy the emperor is to destroy himself. Maximus smiles through the pain because he knows it's worth it. These might be my last words. I don't know when they will come for me. I will resist them at any cost. That's why I smile through the pain. Whoa. They diagnosed my mother with severe neuropathy. Am I saying that right? When she was 41 years old. She said it started 10 years before that with burning sensation in her feet and occasional sharp stabbing pains. At first, the pain would last a few months, then fade to tingling, then numbness, then fade to nothing a few days later. The first time the pain came, she ignored it. Then it came a couple times a year, and she ignored it. Then every couple months, then a couple times a month, then a couple times a week. Or at that point, the tingling faded to numbness, the pain would start, and the discomfort was constant. At that point, even going from the couch to the kitchen would make her own lunch become a major endeavor. She started with ibuprofen until the stomach aches and acid reflux made her... I don't want to read all of this, but basically he said it would cost $180,000. Recovery would be 6 months minimum before, there was a compressed nerve in her spine and she needed back surgery, and it would cost $180,000. Recovery would be 6 months minimum before walking again, 12 months for full potential recovery, and she would never lift more than 10 pounds of weight again. Third doctor performed a nerve conduction study. Each cost $800 to $1,200. She hit the $6,000 deductible of her UnitedHealthCare plan in October. Then the doctor went on vacation. My mother wasn't able to resume tests until January when her deductible reset. The test showed severe neuropathy. The $180,000 surgery would have had no effect. They prescribed opioids for the pain. At first, the pain relief was worth the price of constant mental fog and constipation. She didn't tell me about that until later. All I remember is we took a trip for the first time in years when she drove me to Monterey to go to the aquarium. I saw an otter in real life swimming on its back. We left at 7 a.m. and listened to Green Day on a 4-hour car ride. Over time, the opioids stopped working. They made her more sensitive to pain, and she felt withdrawal symptoms after just 2 or 3 hours. By now, the pain was just so bad she couldn't exercise, which compounded the weight gain from the slowed metabolic rate and hormonal shifts. It barely helped the pain, made her so fatigued she would go an entire day without getting out of bed. Then corticosteroids, which didn't even work. She basically is saying the pain was so bad for her. They kept prescribing her things that did not work. All of this while they bled us dry with follow-up appointment after follow-up appointment, specialist consultations, and more image scans. Each appointment was promised to be fully covered until the insurance claims were delayed and denied. Allopathic medicine did nothing to help my mother's suffering, yet it is the foundation of our entire society. My mother told me that on a good day, the nerve pain was like her legs were immersed in ice water. On a bad day, it felt like her legs were clamped in a machine shot vise, screwed down to where the ankles cranks stopped turning, then crushed further until her ankle bone splintered and cracked to accommodate the tightening clamp. She had more bad days than good. My mother crawled to the bathroom on her hands and knees. I slept in the living room to create more distance from her cries in the night. I still woke up and still went back to sleep. Back then, I thought there was nothing I could do. The high copays made consistent treatment impossible. New treatments were denied as not medically necessary. Old treatments didn't work and still put us out for thousands of dollars. UnitedHealthCare limited specialist consultations to twice a year. Then they refused to cover advanced imaging, which the specialist required for an appointment. Prior authorizations took weeks, then months. UnitedHealthCare constantly changed their claim filing procedure. They said my mother's doctor needed to fax his notes. Then UnitedHealthCare said they did not save fax patients' correspondence and required a hard copy of the doctor's typed notes to be mailed. Then they said they had never received the notes. They were unable to approve the claim until they had received and filed the notes. The more I read this, the more I'm like, yeah, I think this is him. This sounds like a real story. This sounds like a reason. This sounds like a motive. You know what I'm saying? They promised coverage and broke their word to my mother. With every delay, this is really sad, honestly. With every delay, my anger surged. With every denial, I wanted to throw the doctor to the glass wall of their hospital waiting room. But it wasn't them. It wasn't the doctors, the receptionists, administrators, pharmacists, imaging technicians, or anyone we ever met. It was UnitedHealthCare. People are dying. Evil has become institutionalized. Corporations make billions of dollars off the pain, suffering, and death and anguished cries in the night of millions of Americans. We entered into agreement for healthcare with a legally binding contract that promised care commensurated with our insurance payments and medical needs. Then UnitedHealthCare changed the rules to suit their own profits. They think they make the rules and that's because it's legal, that no one can punish them. They think there's no one out there who will stop them. Now my own chronic back pain wakes me in the night, screaming in pain. I sought out another type of healing that showed me the real antidote to what ails us. I bide my time, saving the last of my strength to strike my final blows. So he did all this with a back injury? Wow. I bide my time, saving the last of my strength to strike my final blows. All extractors must be forced to swallow the bitter pain they deal out to millions. As our own chief executives, it's our obligation to make our own lives better. First and foremost, we must seek to improve our own circumstances and defend ourselves. As we do so, our actions have ripple effects that can improve the lives of others. Rules exist between two individuals in a network that covers the entire earth. Some of these rules are written down. Some of these rules emerge from natural respect between two individuals. Some of these rules are defined in physical laws, like the properties of gravity, magnetism, and the potential energy stored in the chemical bonds of potassium nitrate. No single document better encapsulates the belief that all people are equal in fundamental worth and moral status and the framework for fostering collective well-being than the U.S. Constitution. He's spitting. Writing a rule down makes it into law. I don't give a fuck about the law. Law means nothing. What does matter is following the guidance of our own logic and what we learn from those before us to maximize our own well-being, which will then maximize the well-being of our loved ones and community. That's where UnitedHealthCare went wrong. They violated their contract with my mother, with me, and tens of millions of other Americans. This threat to my own health, my family's health, and the end of our country's people requires me to respond with an act of war. End. It was beautifully written. he has recognized that in a system that condones and perpetuates violence, he has reconciled that his only fair retribution is an act of war. Now, I'm not saying I condone, disclaimer here, disclaimer that, I don't own a gun, I never will, like, blah, yada, whatever. However, I think this is very philosophically interesting as a case study of what retribution looks like to people. And again, if you haven't read The Secret History and you want to, then don't listen to what I'm about to say for the next 30 seconds to a minute. If you have or you don't intend to read it, basically Henry ends up being the killer of others, and then he unalives himself. And he has this whole shtick about it's all just redistribution of matter at the end of the day. And he has this philosophical code that he abides by. And while it's righteous to him, it is simultaneously his own undoing. And he ends up obviously dead. Now, Luigi isn't dead. And again, allegedly, whatever this article is, it literally is, the initials are LM, and this sounds like a motive, but whatever, allegedly. He knows, I guess now, particularly now when he's saying I don't know when they're going to come for me. And then they came for him last night, I think, or yesterday. He's saying, I'm my own chief of staff, I'm my own chief of military, I'm the agent of my own demise, but this is what needs to happen for them to realize that they can't do this to us and that they can't just keep doing this to people. And what is law? Which is a fair question. And he ate with that one. I don't give a fuck about the law. Law means nothing. Writing a rule down makes it into law. And he's right. And what a lot of people have pointed out is if this Brian Thompson, UnitedHealthCare CEO, has been responsible for denying healthcare that was promised and paid for to so many people, so many American citizens, he's really responsible for a lot of deaths and a lot of unwellness, but really, truly a lot of deaths. And some people have done the numbers on those deaths, and it's it's a significant, it's high. I think Blue Cross had a new philosophy on anesthesia, or a new policy about it, saying if your surgery runs overtime, we're not paying for the overtime of the anesthesia. So you could wake up with hundreds of thousands, or I don't really know, but I'm assuming it could be a lot, in hospital debt because your surgery went over and Blue Cross won't cover it. I'm pretty sure it was Blue Cross. And then when this unaliving happened, they reversed the policy. And there you go. That was effective. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's not sustainable by any means. It's not a sustainable tactic, but I think it did send a message that told some people, okay, let's not Marie Antoinette this motherfucker. And I do think at the end of the day, though, America, I don't know, it's not gonna last like this for too long. We are in the age of Aquarius. We are in Cat Williams 2024. Truth is prevailing. Truth is revealing. Jay-Z just got named in correlation with Diddy and a 13-year-old who they put under the influence. So that's interesting. People are, okay, this is not the right metaphor because people are taking prisoners, like Diddy is a prisoner, but people are taking no prisoners anymore is what I was going to say, because obviously, that was not just an act of war. He said, I'm going to the top. I'm going to stop this myself, which doesn't stop the whole system, but it does very much shake and send a message. It is very Hunger Games Mockingbird-esque. You know what I'm saying? And it's when you see this happen in real time, and he's very masterfully controlled his own narrative. And to efficiently type out a philosophical last words like an I don't know when they're gonna come for me, here's this. Not just in the sense of like, you know, I'm sure like Netflix or whoever is gonna make some sort of docuseries about this that will use this. And I think one of the most poetic parts that I can already see being made into a montage, just imagine like a Timothée Chalamet lookalike in a hoodie, like a Luke from Gilmore Girls-esque jacket with a hoodie, and he's in the Starbucks line, and then the voiceover goes, you know, it doesn't matter if you live or die or have a cup of coffee. And it's like reading the rest of his manifesto. As it should. I would be disappointed if they didn't, but I think I should get credit for that because I called it out. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. I don't know. It's definitely shaken up the system. It's definitely given the healthcare companies and CEOs in general something to think about in the way people are starting to feel really the injustice of the structures and the systems that they are forced into and that they suffer under. And, you know, it's an interesting, like, philosophical conversation about self-sacrifice and realizing that you are going to suffer even more because you did this thing that you felt needed to be done. But, like, having already made peace with it and controlling his narrative, I don't know. It's such an interesting thing to experience in real time. This whole thing has been so crazy. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on this down below. And I will be reading the comments diligently. And yeah, I will talk to you next time. Bye.